Collective, hello, hello, my loves. Welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina. I hope that y'all are doing well. Collective, we have the fault line and the healer, the stone and the kiss, the poet and the lover. Collective. Well, I suppose we'll start with the fault line and the healer because, the fault line is the idea of broken, faulty foundations, right? It's like one thing after another thing, after another thing, after another thing, after another thing. And I mean, you know, I think of an earthquake, right? Like you experience an earthquake and everything's broken, and that was completely out of your control, and I feel like a lot of times when we experience things that are like outside the realm of our control. I was having a conversation with, this is what I love about my job. I get to talk to so many people. But I had the privilege of meeting this woman today, and she's just such a beautiful soul, and we were talking about the idea of really, like trusting in our intuition, when things have been broken in our lives, right? And she shared with me this experience, and when we were doing our session, we were focusing on, like removing those blockages and discussing what they were, and doing that, like bringing healing to those issues, those blockages, because when you name it, you tame it. When you see it, you remove it. You know what I mean? And I just feel like this idea of, I don't know, I just almost feel like this shift, that just like this little hairline of a crack. Well, because this feels almost like an awareness because of an experience, right? If you've experienced the earthquake before, if you've experienced the crumbled foundation as a result, then you're hypersensitive to any kind of cracks that appear, right? And I feel like there's almost like this sense of like there being this like quake and this crack, but like a recognition that I feel like almost like calls for reinforcement. However, that resonates for you as an individual, because that could be just something as simple as like as recognizing where you're having blockages and removing them. You know what I mean? Like if we know that we become, like the more we block our energy off, the more we break down, like our own foundation of intuition, then, we recognize when we do it and we restore it. I just feel like this energetic restoration, this time of I just feel like intentionally ensuring a path to a solid foundation. Because, the stone is the idea of being anchored into something. And so even when you are pulled away, you're brought back, because in the book it discusses the idea, oh, I need to go back and read it, but something along the lines of, like the string that's connected to the stone, and so you can go, like within this perimeter, but then the moss can pull it down and pull it away and get it out of its flow, and you know what I mean. And so like it's a process of removing those blockages and those obstacles, and being pulled back into like where you belong is what I want to say. But the kiss is my favorite relationship card because it's just that idea that like no matter what, you can reach out your hand and that person is there. For some people here, I do think that there is, well, and we're still in all of the retrogrades, right? So it's just kind of like, I do think for some of my people here, there is an idea that, like you've had a relationship in the past that just really was not a good, it wasn't good. I just feel like it got hit with the earthquake and it crumbled. And yet, I almost feel like this crumbling is almost that breaking away of the debris that would be, like a representative of the moss that like pulls you out in the directions that you don't need to go, right? And then when all of that's broken away, you come back to where like the reinforcements are of the foundation. Because even though the foundation is broken, you can reach out your hand and that person is still there. For others, I think that it could be, like it's a new relationship and you've experienced all of these relationships that didn't work in the past, you know, and the damage that that causes just to us individually, right? You come with broken points and triggers and you know what I mean? Like you have all of these things that you have to kind of sort through. And you want to, make sure that you're entering into relationships with people who, learn how to love you so that they can, love you to your highest potential rather than people who learn how to love you to break you down, to put you beneath them somehow, And so when you experience, like a healthy relationship, it's a very healing experience, right? I think it's something that, well, I don't know, because I just think of like the energetic line, and when the energetic line is clear, then like the anchoring just feels like a natural plunge. But either way, it seems like this healing experience that you're having is it's just opening your eyes and opening your, I think, experience to the beauty that can be found through, the pain, through the trauma, through all of the negative things. I mean, because the poet, I mean, truly, I love poetry, but poetry, it reaches into the depths of the emotion, of the experience that we have, and it peels away, like the experience until it uncovers, like a sense of rebirth. And I feel like there's just this sense of uncovering a sense of rebirth that just allows for creation, in writing and whatever, painting, whatever your creation is, whatever your means of creation is. I just feel almost like you've tapped into it. Like you've tapped into your heart space, you've tapped into, alignment. Collective. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. My day's been interesting. Kind of strange, but interesting. Collective. Yeah. Well, okay. Collective. We have a bunch of cards, so give me just a second, please. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Eight of Pentacles, I mean, this is just manipulation, right? I mean, I always think of like financial manipulation, like people who want to lord things over you, And I just feel this sense of like, well, I mean, and any of us have been in a situation where we've just had people lord things over us, and it's like, it leaves a taste in your mouth that almost just makes you feel like, I I don't ever want to ask for anything that I need, because when I do that, what ends up happening is that I get more of the opposite of what I need in an attempt to control me, you know? And that can play out in so many different ways. Whether, I mean, the Pentacles is a financial card, but this is such a, like an emotionally manipulative card to me. And I just feel like part of what's being healed are these experiences of just extreme manipulation. Because I think that when you understand what that looks like, it's easier to, I think, recognize like an equal partnership. And for a lot of us, I really do think that this is just a new relationship. I feel like it's somebody that you can work well with. And I think it's a relationship that offers a sense of security that is just very healing. And I love that. Okay, collective. Oof. Okay. Six of Cups, Nine of Pentacles, Four Cups, Death. Okay, we got a lot of cards again. Hold on just a second. Okay, well, Four of Cups, Four of Swords, and Death. I just think of I do always spend way too much time on Instagram. My best friend gets like copious amounts of memes and reels a day. Mostly places that I want to travel to and how much I love her. But I just think that, there's just this idea of confusion, of feeling like you're missing out, just feeling like the only, I don't know, I just kind of feel like people dangling carrots in front of your face. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, I guess I would think in like in terms of like a business sense, because it doesn't even, but again, this thing can translate, because this could be, in terms of a job or a career. It doesn't even have to be like an actual person. It could just be that you're partnering with somebody in work who is passionate about what you're passionate about, and you are able to share in this experience with them, and it's a very healing experience for you, because it's very different from what you've experienced in the past with other people. But I think that with these, other people, it was just the sense of always feeling like you were just trying to figure it out, like you're just like there's never any sense of clarity. There's just confusion and feeling like you always feel like you're on the outside looking in and wishing you were on the other side, and you get to the other side and you feel like you're on the outside of something else. You know what I mean? And that doesn't feel whole to you. It confuses you. And I feel like that confusion was used to, well, I don't know, because for a lot of people, I think that it's used to string people along, right? It's like an idea of breadcrumbing, and if you've dealt with that in the past, then I think that you are, just maybe very conscious of it. And I don't know, that's just what's coming through. But again, I don't think that that's what you're experiencing. I think that what you are experiencing, the shadow dance at anyway. The shadow dance in this card, it's the devil in traditional tarot, but in this card, it always comes through more as that, like, longing and envy. And, again, I just think that when you look back over things, like what you don't want to do is feel like you're longing for anything in your life. You don't want to look at your life and feel like you are envious of the experiences around you. Well, because that would be, a lot of isolation for sure. And I don't know. Well, that's random, but The Good Place. Somebody's been watching The Good Place. I hope you enjoyed it. But it's a show on Netflix, but I love it. I love Kristen Bell and I love her writing and I love, like the stories that she concocts. And if you're not familiar with The Good Place, it's this story, spoiler alert, but these people, when they die, they go to the good place, but they keep figuring out that they're not actually in the good place, but they're being tortured. But while they're being tortured, they are, they are, growing, because even though they're being tortured, they're not being constantly bombarded with all these other things, but they discuss a lot of different philosophies and philosophers, and just it's educational entertainment. And so I love it. But anyways, in the scenarios where they keep trying to like situate and turn things around, they send them back to earth, and the problem is that it's not working because it's not flowing. It's like they're trying to force things, and it's just, like things are too scattered and too manufactured and too, you know what I mean? There's no real connection, and it just like it gets all fuddled. But I think that when you recognize where all of these issues are, and how they've affected your life and your relationships and your business relationships and all of it, I think that your consciousness, because the Ten of Swords is like an ultimate truth and an awareness that I think enables you to really stand in your power. And when you stand in your power, you call into you what is meant for you, right? The Hanged Man and the Nine of Pentacles. Honestly, I feel like this is for my people out there who are healing previous relationships, if that's what's happening for you. I do think that there is this sense of, well, it's that glow up, right? Like you go through a breakup and then, like the glow up that follows thereafter is just like fire. And the glow up, I think, changes a perspective for some. And I don't know, you guys. I mean, I'm never usually an advocate for going back to relationships. There's a reason they didn't work. But I think that also, just cosmically speaking, we are in a time where there are karmic lessons that we're learning, or karmic lessons that we've healed. And I don't know where you're at in that energy. So take what resonates for you, how it resonates for you. Either way, I think it's beautiful, because I think what's happening is that we're clearing away some of the blockages. We're recognizing how we need to show up for ourselves. And in turn, I think being able to show up is the type of person who we want to work with, is the type of person who we want to be in relationships with, is the type of person who we want to have community with. Because it starts here. It starts with me, right? And I love that, collective. So let's do one last card for us and we'll call it a read. 2 cards. The Underworld and the Maiden. Well, again, just this, the idea of the faulty foundation is that, when the foundation is cracked, that's when the bugs get in. That's when like the drafts occur. It's when, it feels meh, and I feel like you don't want that. And you don't want that to temper your desire to experience something beautiful because you're all in your head about all of the things that happened before. Because I feel like just saying all the things that happened before happened with reason, because everything happens with reason. And I know I don't like hearing it any more than you do. Trust. But still sincerely believe that we did come into this life with purpose and with plan. And I think that part of that plan is strengthening ourselves in the very things that we, oh my God, y'all. Bombi Spirit, go follow her. She is a queen. I've been following her for probably 8 years now. I love her. Anyways, I was watching her Aloha Friday today, and she was talking about Chiron. So Chiron is like the wounded healer. And wherever it is that you have Chiron in your chart is where you struggle in life. And I have Chiron in Taurus, which is like, oh. But she said the most profound thing that anyone has ever said to me concerning Chiron, or that I've ever heard anyone say concerning Chiron. And it was that Chiron is the wound that you experience, because it is the wound that you are healing within yourself, so that you are able to heal that wound in the collective. And it's very deeply connected to your purpose. And I just cried. Can't even lie. I'm going to put the link to her video for this, in a comment. So if y'all are interested in checking her out, you really should. But, collective, I think that's a lot of what's here, is that healing the wounds within ourselves situates us to heal the collective wound that we've experienced, and I love that. Collective. Okay, officially done. I hope so very much that this does resonate with you. If it does, please do give me a like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and sharing your energy with me, and I will see y'all again soon. Bye.